Ladies and gentlemen, and boys and girls, from Lima Shenanigans of 1977, it's Tuesday, and you know what that means. It's time for the NXT Event Center Wrestling Report. And now here's the man that will bring you all the wrestling happenings from the WWE Superstars of tomorrow, Eric M. Lima. Thank you very much, Mr. Announcer, sir. Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans. 1977 episode number 2473 to show. How's it going, everybody? Hope you guys had a wonderful day. I know my day's been pretty rough. I was trying to watch a Red Sox game, but I couldn't get the feed to work. Not on my TV, unfortunately. They took Nesson off my TV. But I managed to find a site, ended up watching it, but they lost. Again, 4-game losing streak for the Sox, so they got to get. I know they acquired Nathaniel Lowe, who's already made friends with Red Sox fans. So I'm hoping that tomorrow they have the day off. Hope they get it together because they got to get it together against the Yankees. So the Yankees are starting to get hot again. They just hit 3 consecutive home runs against Tampa Bay. So hopefully the Red Sox can straighten themselves out against the Yankees. So we'll see what happens there. Let's talk a little bit of NXT, shall we? Well, let's do that. And as you know, NXT or WWE Heatwave is the final NXT before Heatwave coming up this Sunday. And what's going to happen is also, I believe, Forbidden Door is happening this Sunday as well. AEW New Japan Forbidden Door. So tomorrow night's Dynamite will be the final Dynamite before Forbidden Door, and Saturday night's Collision will be the final Collision before Forbidden Door as well. So there'll be a lot of picks and predictions will be happening. Will be happening. I said happening twice. There'll be picks and predictions happening on both parts of Heatwave and Forbidden Door. As you know, Heatwave will be tonight. That's right, because everything's starting to be, the card is starting to get settled in. Ava's done a great job getting this card going. And like I said, it's the first Heatwave with the featuring wrestlers from the partnership with TNA. I'll tell you one thing. Here's the crazy thing about 2025 when it came to the WWE. If you ever thought that the WWE would join forces with TNA, its partners, and acquire AAA, I would have said you're nuts. It wasn't going to work. It isn't going to happen. Somehow they got it done. TKO managed to make things happen, and it's been a great partnership. It's helping out a lot. I believe. I would not be surprised if TNA decided to go the WWE's way, and that means all the TNA talents that are currently there that were released by the WWE will be technically rehired back if that was the case, and that'd be a really cool thing to see. But who knows? I'm hoping this WWE TNA partnership will turn into a War Games kind of match, which I think I have an idea about Survivor Series. And a lot of people, it's Survivor Series for events of the year because I've always but I missed the traditional Survivor Series team matches, elimination matches. That's what it was all about. Teams of 5 strive to survive. That was a big thing. That was a big catchphrase back in the 80s when they first had that concept. So we can get going with that. Well, let's talk about what's happened on NXT. Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura, because this NXT has taken place in Philadelphia. These two beat the you-know-what out of each other to kick off NXT, and they said, okay, let's get the Philly Street Fight right away. It was a Philly Street Fight. These two decided to brawl to their heart's content, but in the end, Josh Briggs ended up winning the match. And earlier, before NXT, this is what happens earlier in the week, where Ava and Santino was on a call with Monster Slamovich. Monster Slamovich contacted both General Santino, the Director of Authority, General Manager Ava from NXT, says, hey, if you want this 6-woman tag match to be a clear-cut winner, let me referee it. Ava agrees, and Santino goes, you better not cause any problems in there. I gotta see what... So Santino, kind of weary about it, but I don't blame him. But she doesn't like either JC Jane or Ash by Elegance, so it'd be great to call it down the middle. We'll see what happens there. Sarah Schreiber interviewed Trick Williams, and Trick Williams declares that he's going to beat Javon Evans and be one step closer to being a double champion in NXT and in TNA. If he could beat Obafemi. Good luck with that. Ricky Saints and Jasper Troy went one-on-one. Jasper Troy, the LFG Season 1 winner. Well, he was trying to make a name for himself, but then Ricky Saints shows that, hey, I'm still going to be one of the top dogs around here in NXT. So he defeated Jasper Troy, the big guy. Then Hank and Tank were talking to Ava about who, and they were asking which two members of Dark State they'll defend the tag team titles against, and they'll find out for sure. And then the personal concierge interrupts Ava and says, "I want to introduce you to the Elegance brand," and which I thought was pretty cool. Heather by Elegance and M by Elegance, formerly known as Heather Reckless and Maggie Lee, by the way. It was their first NXT debut, and so that's going to be pretty exciting for them. Then, I think George Iceman, the personal concierge, says, "Hey, I don't want Monster Slam Bitch as a referee." He goes, "Hey, I made up my mind. Monster's going to be the referee," and then Monster's, all the girls were making fun of Masha with the referee's outfit, but Ava shook her hand. So there's that. Then there's the face-to-face confrontation, Jordan Grace and Blake Monroe. And Jordan Grace tried to open up to the WWE Universe in Philly. And Blake Monroe interrupted her, kind of disrespected her, and then Jordan Grace took out all the members of security, but then the last one ran away scared like a little girl. But Jordan Grace grabbed Blake Monroe by the wrist and said, and he said, "I'll see you Sunday," and just basically put her down, and she ran off. Because she had a contract, if Blake Monroe had a contract, if you put your hands on me, the match is off. But it seems like the match is on because she did not attack Blake Monroe, just basically grabbed her by her wrists. Then, and then Fatal Influence were discussing were dissing the Elegance brand. Laney Reed walks by, tells JC Jane good luck, and it seems like Laney Reed could end up joining Fatal Influence. I think the thing is Jasmine Nix will be out, and I think Laney Reed could be more capable of joining up with Fatal Influence. We'll see. I'm kind of see something there. But then Soruka and Zarya confronted Fatal Influence, and but then Laney Reed, this is Soruka saying, "At least I defend my titles," and then she looks at her speed championship. She is the women's speed champion, and she looks at it, and then she looks at Zarya and goes, "I feel a need for speed," and goes over to high five, and Zarya's like, no. Lame joke, so I'm going to have to agree with Zarya on that one. Anyways, Sarah Schreiber interviewed Javon Evans, and Javon Evans knows what he has to do in order to become the number one contender against Obafemi, and that is try to beat Trick Williams, the former two-time champ, current TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Meanwhile, 6-woman tag, Fatal Influence versus the Elegance brand. These two teams went at it until the personal concierge got involved, and Monster Slamovich says, "You know what? You're out of here." So that's what happened. So, but then the Elegance brand and Fatal Influence got Slamovich distracted, and Fatal Influence took advantage of that situation and ends up winning the matchup. And then afterwards, after the matchup, as Fatal Influence retreats to celebrate their victory, the Elegance brand kind of confronted Monster Slamovich, and a little pushing and shoving between Ash by Elegance and Monster Slamovich. Charlie Dempsey was talking to Kendall Gray and tried to give her advice about the arm bars and all that. And then Ren Sinclair goes, "I'm sorry, Well, you know, why do you want to tell an amateur wrestler who went 61-0 for that? And then Kendall Gray kind of looked and goes, ew. And here comes the culling. And the culling wanted, you know, I think wanted either Charlie Dempsey or Ren Sinclair to join them. Well, Charlie Dempsey was like telling off Sean Spears, and they all walk away. And then Ren Sinclair, you know, and then Charlie Dempsey puts Ren Sinclair in a 2-on-1 matchup further down the line against Izzy Dane and Tatum Paxley. If I were Ren Sinclair, I would find herself a partner. And then there was the USA Canada peace treaty. Now, I have some Canadian friends, okay? This is ridiculous. Because you know it's not going to end well, so they decided to have their table removed, which upset the Philadelphia fans. But in the end, though, Ava came out and said, you know what, this is anything but peaceful. How about this? Mixed tag at Heatwave. Chelsea Green and North American champ Ethan Page against Tavion Heights and Tyra May Steele. And all four people brawled at it until the Secret Herberts bailed out Green and Page. So Miles Bourne was talking to Ricky Saints and said, what's up with this? And I don't know, but this is what's up over there. And then Lexis King apologized to Miles Bourne. He said, I apologize for saying that you're deaf and blind. And then Miles Bourne's like, you know what? I am deaf, but I'm not blind. And Lexis King says, yes, you are. I think he sprayed Miles Bourne with some mace, I think. So hopefully he gets checked out. Hopefully he'll be okay. Lola Vice and Kehlani joined to talk about being the number one contender to the women's championship. And then they mentioned the third person, Jada Parker, was not there. Lash Legend interrupted. Told him that she said, and she's been dissing them. And she said, and Jada Parker, she's going to get hers. And then Dark State was talking to Ava, and then Ava goes, which two of you? You'll find out. None of your business. You'll find out this Sunday. And then he started, sharing information. Then it doesn't matter who it is, and it doesn't matter if it's Joe. He mentioned Joe Hendry's name, and Joe Hendry popped out of the game. Say his name, and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. Clap, clap. And then Joe Hendry was like, you know what, you guys better focus on trying to get those tag team titles and such. And so they said, fine, but we're gonna get you. And then Cutler, Jesus, don't make me go on your ass. I'm like, what? Come on, Cutler, let's go. And then Joe Hendry looks at Ava. Strange one, that one. Strange young lad, that one. Yeah. And it's like they couldn't do anything, which is hilarious, to be totally honest. Then there was the NXT title number one contenders match between Javon Evans and Trick Williams. And Obafemi decided to match on one side of the balcony, but then Mike Santana made an appearance. I don't know if he's eyeing Obafemi or eyeing Trick Williams' TNA title, but that distracted Trick Williams. Javon Evans took advantage of the situation. He wins, and now Javon Evans is your number one contender, and will be fighting this Sunday for the NXT title. Speaking of which, let's run down the card. For NXT Heatwave, Jordan Grace going one-on-one with Blake Monroe. Hank and Tank will be defending the tag team titles against two members of Dark State. JC Jane will be defending her TNA Knockouts title against Monster Sunbitch and Ashby Elegance. Jada Parker versus Kehlani joining Lola Vice, number one contender for the women's championship. Just recently added. Two of these two matches, Ethan Page and Chelsea Green, will go up against Tavion Heights and Tyra May Steele. And finally, the matchup that was decided on tonight's main event. Obafemi will defend the title against Javon Evans. Who am I going to go for? And I'm going to go for Jordan Grace over Blake Monroe. I believe Dark State will be the new tag team champions, because you never know which two members, so Hank and Tank will probably not be prepared for it. The Knockouts Championship matchup. JC James defending against Monster Slamovich and Ace by Elegance. You thought I said Slammer. You know what I mean. But I'm picking I'm picking Ash by Elegance is due to hold a championship at TNA. I'm picking Ash by Elegance in this one. Jada Parker versus Kaylani Joyner versus Lola Vice. You know something? I would like to see Lola Vice challenge JC Jane. That's my opinion. Ethan Page and Chelsea Green versus Tavia Heights and Tyra May Steele. In a mixed tag. I'm picking Heights and Steele for that one. And then finally, Obafemi defending the championship against Javon Evans. You know what? Obafemi's worked very hard. Let's let Javon Evans take the title. That's what I'm doing there. So, well, my good friend Bob Mendel added one of Disney Springs. So, anyways, okay, and oh, duh. All right, now it was Dana Brooke. Anyway, yeah. So that is all the time that we have on the show, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Tomorrow we got the Joker's Wild Wednesday for sure. I think it's gonna be a little rainy tomorrow. That's what I'm thinking, but that's okay. The rain's gonna start in the afternoon, which is fine by me, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Hope you guys have a wonderful, blessed rest of your night. And until the next episode comes, oh yeah, you're going to see a new thumbnail for the NXT Event Center. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody. Until next episode comes rolling around, Mr. Announcer, take us home. That is all for today's episode of the show. This is Mr. Announcer speaking for Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. A Big Beefy E and do it for Bob Saget production, and in association with a Raving Bull for 3000 Telepictures and Distribution. Thank you for watching another episode of Eric Lima Shenanigans of 1977. See you later on the next episode of the show. Goodbye for now.